What's up, guys? It's Tyler V.
Bo C.
And these are the pros
And the cons
of smaller pulleys. Weep, 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 weep. All right, guys, on today's Behind the Builds, we're talking about supercharger pulleys. We got your resident expert on the M90, and you can call me an expert all you want, but
Enthusiast.
enthusiast. We'll call it supercharger enthusiast here today to talk to you about the pros and cons behind the different sizes of supercharger pulleys. In front of us here, we have all the different offerings. These are gonna be your M90 supercharger pulleys, but let's get into it at the start with on my end.
Yes. You can't even drop a single pulley size, in my opinion, without having a good list of supporting mods. Because effectively, GM has these cars set up for safe operating range of the M62 and the M90 per the engine's airflow.
Yeah, and obviously with anything that we're dealing with here, GM needs to put something out from the factory that everyone can drive, whether it's Bo, me, Ryan, or your grandma. They're gonna take it home, somebody's gonna put 87 in it, somebody's gonna treat it right and put 93 in it. But that's why they come with such large Ferris wheels.
Big old dinner plates.
I mean, M90's what, 3.8 inches?
3.8 inches.
M62 is approximately 3.4. And obviously we're working with different displacements here with the 3800 and the LSJ. But in theory and in practice behind all of these, starting from the largest to the smallest, it's gonna be the same between the engines. And I don't wanna get too far into it. And I'll only say it once. I probably won't only say it once, but efficiency. That's what this is all about.
It really is. And GM really had that efficiency right for the stock engine. So our stage 1 kit and our stage 2 kits for the LSJ and the Ecotech get you into some mods where you can look at dropping your pulley size.
Yeah, so obviously the biggest thing that we're working here with either engine is a massive heat pump. That's all that a supercharger is. Not all, but in theory, that's about all it is. It's taking rotational force from the engine, putting it into that supercharger and creating heat, but also boost. And as we know, once you start from here and start going down, you're gonna increase your boost. On the pros side, and as you've heard me preach before, I personally, for what I do with the car, like to stay on this end. I still have a stock pulley on my LSJ, but that's not gonna be the same for everybody. But what I really like is as you increase the modifications on your engine, see, I'm about to say it again.
Efficiency.
You're gonna increase the efficiency of the engine. And so the difference between the superchargers and what most people view as with turbos with the boost is you can't just keep cramming more boost into that engine.
More boost ain't always better.
Yeah. As we increase the efficiency of the engine, you're actually lowering the boost, and because you're setting out a set amount of airflow, sticking with a larger pulley means that it's gonna be a little bit easier on your engine. Yeah. So the biggest pro out of all of them on a bigger pulley is gonna be your IAT2s. As we know, cold air is denser air. You're gonna have more consistency from pull to pull to pull.
Yeah, less prone to heat soak, more reliable, more consistent.
Yep.
I kind of like to determine the pulley size last. You know, get your setup together. You know, put it on a pulley that you know is going to be super safe.
Yeah.
Be able to go out, floor the car for the first time, make sure you don't have any misfires. If you're remote tuning, which I would recommend you are doing with Tyler or myself, you know, optimize the air fuel, optimize the timing, and then you can start bringing that pulley size down until you reach your knock threshold for your fuel and your mods.
Yeah. And Ryan Derrick always preaches this: don't set up your build for a certain pulley size.
Yeah.
In the end, your engine has no idea what size pulley it is. The ECM has no idea what size pulley is on the end of that supercharger.
It's a big thing is we do not tune for pulley sizes either.
Yeah.
The mass airflow sensor is going to monitor the air going in and out, and whether we increase it or decrease it with pulley size, there's no major tuning differences that need to be made just because you put on a 3/6 pulley.
Yep. So, Bo, get into the pros of a smaller pulley.
Pros of a smaller pulley. More boost, obviously, for one, because that's real cool. But obviously, as you've added a camshaft and some valve train mods, we're going to bring that efficiency range back up into where GM intended it to be or where we like to see it with our intercooler updates. That's a huge thing, is before you decide to start dropping a pulley, is you're going to need some good intercooling. You know, if you got your Ecotech dual pass, option B stealth, and then if you got the supercharged 3800, the stage 2.5 intercooler, and
Or our supercore.
or our supercore and the pump and the rest of the kit.
So to go along with what Bo was saying, obviously you're going to increase the boost. You're spinning the blower faster as you're moving down here. And in general, that's where you're going to see your power increases. I mean, you can have an LSJ or a 3800 set up exactly how you want it, but if you're sticking on the same pulley, you're never going to effectively go anywhere when it comes to airflow, because it's going to be the same once everything's in place. And that's what we like to preach, is have all those things in place, then you can start moving down and you can start making more power. Now, the one thing that a lot of people think is that a smaller pulley is automatically going to increase power. And
it's not the case. A lot of times a smaller pulley in an improper setup will decrease power.
Yeah.
More prone to knock. You're going to be, the ECM is going to be removing a lot of timing. You're just creating a bunch of excessive heat.
Yeah. And what's great about these supercharged engines is they react in a similar way to an NA engine. They really do like the timing. You know, an LSJ and a 3800, if you can get that closer to MBT, and if you're on a 2.6, say on an M62, and you're only running 11 degrees of timing, it's not going to be the same as, call it, a 3.1 on 19, 20 degrees. But another pro of a smaller pulley usually sounds a little bit better.
That is a killer one, and that is one that I'm glad, so happy you brought up. Insert some killer blower noises here, Mike. The smaller pulley is an extremely, I mean, on a Gen 5 M90, it wakes it up so much.
Oh, they scream.
Going from this to even like the 3.0 range, and you're gonna notice a significant noise increase.
Yeah, even on, I mean, obviously I drive my car, but we now have our new Ion up and running, and that's got what was a GM Stage 2 pulley, which is effectively a 3.1. That thing screams. Weep, 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 which is part of the best part about having a blower car.
Yeah.
But that car, it's set up well. It has a good, healthy engine. And even on that 3.1, it only produces about 12 pounds of boost. And with both of these, as we've always talked about, there is an effective boost range that you want to be in. And realistically, the lower that you can get that on your given pulley size is going to be even better.
Yeah, and if you caught our last video on Zoomer's GTP about talking all the details and what we do to increase horsepower on that, all of these pulleys here are significantly lighter than the stock huge steel pulley that they press onto that hub. So you're reducing some rotating mass, and they look way cooler.
Yep.
You know, even if you had I think it's a good idea if you wanted to get a 3.8 modular system on your car, rock that around. It's going to be lighter. It's going to look way cooler. And when it's time to drop down to a 3.6 or, you know, whatever else your mods take you, it's there.
Yeah, and it makes the engine bay look better. Another con of a smaller pulley, obviously the factory belt system is set up for this big pulley.
Yes. You're going to lose wrap.
Yep.
As the diameter goes down, you lose surface area on the pulley. We sell some mods that support that for both platforms. Tyler, why don't you talk about the Ecotech?
Yeah, so like Bo was saying, obviously your belt is what is keeping this spinning in rotation with the crankshaft. And as you can see, as you go down, your contact patch, just like your tires on the road, is going down. So what that means is you need to pull that belt harder down onto that pulley. So with the LSJ, you know, just going from a stock pulley down to, say, a 3.1, you can get away with the GM Stage 2 style belt that we sell. It's a shorter belt overall, which compensates for the difference. But then once you start going past that, then you need to start getting into, say, an adjustable tensioner or our oversized tensioner pulley. I really love the adjustable tensioner because not only does it make servicing the belt easier with that reverse threaded bolt, if you ever need to change pulleys, it's so much better. Being able to move that tensioner through an adjustment setting will mean that it's putting more tension on the belt up top, which by the time it wraps around to the pulley, it's gonna pull more down onto that pulley. And then on the 3800.
Yeah, so on the 3800, you're usually pretty good until you get down to like the 3.0 range. Once you get to the 3.0 range, obviously you're gonna need a belt size change right off the bat. You can get away with a 3.6 on a stock belt, but if you're doing a 3.4 or smaller, I would recommend you get a smaller belt. We got a full series of belts on the belt page for the 3800. But as you drop down in size, basically at the 3.0 mark, I would say it's time for a belt wrap. The belt wrap increases the surface area on the pulley by bringing another pulley right up next to it and allowing there to be almost a 360-degree wrap on this pulley instead of just kind of half of the pulley, if you would. And beyond that, once you get down to like the 2.8 range, 2.7 range, you're going to want to consider doing our 8-rib conversion.
Absolutely.
So the factory belt system is a 6-rib supercharger belt, and we machine all of our pulleys here for an 8-rib, so they're always ready if you do have an 8-rib. But that just 2 extra ribs adds a good amount of additional grip. So between the properly sized belt, the belt wrap, and then the 8-rib, you're gonna make sure that you have all the grip you need on these smaller pulleys. So as you look at our lineup of pulleys here, we had a hard time finding the silver 3.4. It's because you guys love that silver 3.4, as do I. The 3.4 pulley is probably the most commonly misused pulley in our arsenal of pulleys here, I would say. Most people think I got maybe a downpipe on the car and 91 octane, it's time for a 3.4 pulley, and I tell you that is not the case, genuinely ever. The 3.4 pulley is more prone to chip a piston than this 3.0 pulley on an intercooler. They are just, people really love to jump to that 3.4 pulley as if it's a first mod, and it's definitely not, especially on a Gen 5 supercharger. One thing I want to say about a Gen 5 supercharger is we usually see about a two pulley size difference in boost on the same engine between a Gen 3 and a Gen 5. So if you have a Gen 5 running a 3.4 pulley, it's more like a Gen 3 running a 3.2 pulley. So a lot of boost there to be had with the Gen 5. The Gen 5 is a great upgrade, but you want to pulley it accordingly, and kind of, if you went from a 3.4 Gen 3 car, you're probably going to want to put a 3.6 on that Gen 5.
Yep. Jump back up, and it seems counterintuitive.
It does seem counterintuitive, but ultimately we're just trying to keep this balance of airflow in the engine and making sure we're allowing optimal timing and just keeping the engine happy. Over pulleying is about the worst thing you can do for a supercharged car.
Yep. And at the end of the day, as with any of these builds, plan out what you want to do with the car. So whether that is stoplight to stoplight, if you want to put it on the dyno and have it make big numbers,
yep,
or take it to the road course or the autocross,
yeah,
there's going to be an optimal pulley size in here for you.
It's a great point, Tyler. Zoom's car, for example, right now, it's on a 2.6 pulley overdriven because we're racing that car in E98 right now and dynoing it and just trying to make really good power. If we were to put a set of sway bars on it and go out to the road course, I would literally probably consider putting a 3.0 pulley on that car.
Yeah.
Just because it doesn't need it. And excessive heat and long runs, you're going to want to keep that in mind as well. Zoom's car is only wide open throttle for 11 seconds at a time at its longest, so
yep,
we can get away with that smaller pulley, and but the more you're at wide open throttle, the higher those IATs are going to go.
Yeah, and it's about consistency if that's what you're looking for. Running down the highway and just doing some pulls with your buddy here and there, you can probably get away with a pretty small pulley. But if you want to go back to back to back and have the same consistent results, mm-hmm, you're probably going to want to go higher on the pulley size than what you originally thought.
I mean, there's a reason you got a stock pulley on your LSJ. We could probably dyno it 10 times in a row and make within 1 horsepower of each other.
Yeah, and that's what I want to do with the car. I want it to be the same thing every time I drive it, and be able to go to the road course, go to Grattan, try and beat this guy, which
one thing I see a lot in 3800 cars when we're remote tuning is somebody will have a pretty aggressive pulley, and the scanning we're doing is only first and second gear pulls, so about 100 miles an hour or so. And then all of a sudden they just decide one day they're gonna really open it up, and they're like, man, the car really knocked in third gear and I had to lift. And it's because they've literally never had the car at wide open throttle that long. And it's something to consider as you're tuning your car and getting the pulley sized appropriately, is, you know, what you're going to be doing with it. How long is it going to be at wide open throttle? Am I ever going to be doing 125, 130 miles an hour in the car? Because your pulley size is definitely going to be much different at that mile an hour than a quick, 40 to 100 run.
Yeah. And Bo mentioned it earlier, this is why remote tuning with us is so vital.
Yeah.
Being able to see your car in different environments, whether that's the heat outside or a different type of racing that you're doing. We can review that data and say, hey, look, dude, you put an XP cam in your car and you dropped X amount of boost. Mm-hmm. It's time you can go down in pulley size. Or hey, you just did stage 2 supercharged cams in your LSJ. You did long tube headers. You're down, call it 2 or 3 PSI. If you want to go up, you'd be in the same range you were, and we're going to make that much more power.
Bare minimum, have a Aeroforce in the car. Make sure you're always monitoring KR. I would never install a supercharger pulley without doing a pull to monitor KR. Basically, 0 KR is the ultimate KR. Yeah. So be striving for that 0 number at all times. And I remember back in the day, I had a Regal, or the same Regal I have now, actually, back when it was supercharged, and I raced a buddy's car. We had like mod for mod, 1.9 rocker, short stack intercooler, and I had a 3.2 pulley on the car, and he was all puffing me up and saying, oh, I got a 2.8, let's run them, and I put buses on it. So, you know, four sizes higher pulley in a heavier car, and I had better results than what he had, and they were both tuned by ZZPerformance. So, I mean, it was all the same stuff, just over pulleyed, you know. Yep. Not a good thing to do.
So in pros, down on the small end, we got beautiful noise of a blower with a tiny pulley on it.
Oh, beautiful. And the bragging rights.
And the bragging rights. Sounds good, looks good. Obviously, more boost. If you have it set up correctly, more power.
Is going to make more power.
On the big end, we've got consistency.
Yep.
Lower IAT2s.
Good belt wrap.
Good belt wrap. A little less maintenance has to go along with it in terms of that belt wrap. You know, I see a lot of LSJ guys who are like, hey, I've got a 2.7 and an adjustable tensioner and a smaller belt, but it's still flipping sometimes. It's, you know, it can happen. So obviously, the farther you go with any modifications, the more you're going to have to work on it. But like Bo said, even if it's just to get a stock size replacement, it looks great.
It's a good mod, and it sets you up for the future, you know. Some cons of these pulleys: lots of mods required, lots of heat being generated by that supercharger down here. Yep.
On the big end, doesn't sound as cool.
Does not sound as cool.
On your mod list, a 3.4 pulley doesn't look quite as nice as a 2.6, but with that, I think that about covers it. If you guys have any questions, shoot Bo an email, bo.c@zzperformance.com, or myself, tyler.v@zzperformance.com. If you have any questions regarding blowers, anything, shoot an email our way.
We'd be happy to help. That's what we do here every day. We both own cars and are very familiar with what you need. You know, we can basically, you can tell us our mod list, and we can probably put you in a pulley size within a size or two based on your fuel.
Hey,
so,
here.
Yep, if you don't know what pulley, shoot us an email.
Or you know what? Comment down below your favorite pulley size for your M90 or M62 car.
Heck yeah.
We'll catch you next time.
Peace.
What's up, guys? Tyler V.
Bo C.
And these are the pros
and the cons
of smaller pulleys.
Sorry, I accidentally was going to say supercharger pulleys, but that's all right.
Should we do smaller pulleys or supercharger pulleys?
Well, I think it's just pros and cons of pulleys. Or is it smaller pulleys specifically?
What's up, guys? It's Tyler V.
And Bo C.
And these are the pros
and the cons
of smaller pulleys. That was pretty good.
That's pretty
We can work with that.
All right, so today for Behind the Bills, not the Buffalo Bills. These are pulleys. What am I talking about? All right, so today, Bo and he, fucking A.
You want me to do it?
Sure. Go ahead.
All right, guys, welcome back. You're with your below.
So guys who do some shit here, I don't fucking know.
All right. Welcome back, guys. You got your blower boys. And we're talking about large and small supercharger pulleys today. Come on, that was good.
That was pretty good. I don't know why it was so funny. It's too hot up here. It's so hot already.
Yeah, perfect. It's getting hot up here, as are your IATs with these small guys down here. I'd have to say, if you cross this fine line right here, you better have some killer supporting mods and an E85 for your fuel. Tyler,
This is so disorganized.
Did Tim and Ryan do this?
No.
We can redo the intro of Blower Voices, dude.
You guys blower boys.
You got your resident blower boys.
It'd be better if you said, if I said your M62 blower boy and your M90 blower boy. Then I could be like, we just reset the M90 world record. Tyler ain't never gonna do that without one of these guys.
I ain't doing anything like that. All right.
Some pros of the smaller pulley. I didn't write any down. Do you have any?
Yeah, I think I got a couple.
This is torture, bro. Like, I don't mean to not say anything, but you really put me on the spot, and I don't have a single pro of this.
Yeah, more boost.
So if you keep it on this side, you're going to do something. I don't know.
This is where Mike edits his magic.